Why do so many traders finally succeed, yet vanish from the market forever? You see their equity curve go up. You see them win. You see them finally break through the years of chaos, fear, discipline, and emotional overhaul. And then they disappear. Not because they blew up. Not because they lost control. But because success broke them in a way failure never could. This is the part of trading no one talks about. The psychological traps that only appear after you win. Because surviving losses is one journey. Surviving success is another. The world tells you that success solves everything. But for traders, success is the mirror that shows what was hiding beneath the grind. When you finally arrive. Money in your account. Discipline in your hands. Clarity in your mind. Something unexpected happens. Your identity begins to shake. You no longer know who you are without the struggle. The noise stops, and the silence becomes terrifying. That's why this episode matters. Not to help you win, but to help you survive once you do. Every trader starts with the same fuel. I need to make it. I need to prove this. I need to break free. Pain becomes purpose. Struggle becomes identity. The grind becomes meaning. But what happens when you finally win? When the money is real? When the freedom is real? When the struggle that shaped your entire personality suddenly ends? Your identity collapses. Not because you failed, but because you no longer have a war to fight. You weren't addicted to trading. You were addicted to the version of yourself that only existed when you were fighting to survive. Now that you've survived, you don't know who you are. In the beginning, pain was the motivator. The fear of failure kept you sharp. The need to prove yourself kept you disciplined. The dream of making it kept you alive. But once you make it, the entire psychological system collapses. You're no longer climbing. No longer proving. No longer wrestling with uncertainty. Your mind whispers. Now what? And the silence becomes louder than any loss ever did. This is why so many successful traders slowly drift away. Not because they can't trade, but because they don't know who they are without the struggle. If you've ever felt this shift, that strange emptiness after a big win, that confusion that follows success, subscribe to Mindwired Trader. Because mastery isn't just surviving losses. It's surviving the identity crisis that follows success. Success does something dangerous to the mind. It raises the psychological cost of loss. When you're a beginner, losing hurts. But you recover. Because you've lost before. But when you're successful, a single loss feels catastrophic. Not financially, but mentally. Your brain whispers. What if this is the beginning of the end? What if I lose everything I've built? What if I was never actually good, just lucky? You start to defend a peak you don't understand. You tighten your stops too much. You exit winners too early. You re-enter losers too fast. Not because you're undisciplined, but because you're terrified of falling from the top. This is the paradox. The closer you are to freedom, the more you fear losing it. Success multiplies pressure. Instead of playing to win, you start playing not to lose. And trading from fear, even fear of losing success, is the quickest path to self-sabotage. You stop taking setups that used to feel natural. You second-guess your edge. You question your intuition. You re-engineer strategies that already worked. You want control so badly that you choke the very flow that led you to success. This trap breaks traders more than any loss ever could. At the bottom, you have community. People understand struggle. People relate to failure. People connect through pain. But at the top, there is silence. Who do you talk to about a 5-figure drawdown? That doesn't hurt your wallet, but crushes your psyche? Who do you explain the pressure of consistency to, without sounding ungrateful? Who understands the mental fatigue of being responsible for your own outcome every single day? Success isolates you. Not intentionally, but inevitably. No one celebrates your wins, because they don't understand the burden that comes after them. No one understands your losses, because they don't understand the pressure behind them. You become trapped in your own head, a prisoner of your own progress. And slowly, without ever blowing up, without ever melting down, the trader simply quits. Not because they ran out of skill, but because they ran out of structure, identity, connection, meaning. Success without emotional renewal is the quietest form of destruction. Success does something subtle, but destructive, to the trader's mind. It creates an invisible prison called perfection. When you were still learning, you allowed mistakes. You tolerated drawdowns. You forgave yourself. But once you become successful, something shifts. You start believing that your skill must now be absolute. Your discipline must be supreme. Your decisions must be flawless. You think success requires perfection, so you begin obsessing over flawless execution. But perfection isn't discipline. Perfection is fear wearing a mask. The perfection spiral starts like this. You have a small losing day that doesn't hurt your account, but hurts your pride. So you adjust your strategy. Then adjust again. Then again. Until the system that once made you successful is diluted by fear. You over-optimize. You over-control. You overanalyze. You lose the natural flow that built your edge. Your trading becomes mechanical, not intuitive. Forced, not free. The very freedom that success gave you becomes suffocated by the pressure of maintaining it. You start to believe that anything less than perfection is failure. One bad trade feels like a threat. One mistake feels like a collapse. One drawdown feels like the end. You forget that the edge was never flawless. It was probabilistic. But when perfection takes over, you trade like every candle is a final exam. You turn the market into a verdict. You turn every position into a test. You're terrified to fail. And fear, disguised as high standards, kills even the strongest trader. You didn't lose because you got worse. You lost because you stopped allowing yourself to be human. Perfection destroys flow. Flow is where mastery lives. And when flow dies, trading becomes suffocating, exhausting, joyless. That's why so many successful traders quit. Not because they lost money, but because they lost ease. Perfection is a silent poison. It convinces you that success must be defended, not expressed. You stop trading to win. You start trading to avoid being wrong. And that is the fastest way to lose everything you once built. This is the darkest trap of all. The one no one sees coming. The one no one warns you about. The meaning void. The silent collapse of purpose. That happens when success removes the very struggle that once fueled you. You chased trading for freedom, but the chase became the meaning. You fought the market to survive, but the fight became your identity. You dreamed of the day you'd make it. But that dream became the purpose itself. When you finally win, the dream ends. And what replaces it is nothing. You didn't fall out of love with trading. You fell out of love with why you were trading. When success takes away the struggle, trading becomes quiet, predictable, stable, and painfully empty. Without a deeper purpose, the game loses its magic. The wins feel hollow. The routine feels mechanical. The freedom feels weightless. You start skipping sessions. You start avoiding the screen. You start losing interest. Not because you're tired, but because you're directionless. Humans don't need money. Humans need meaning. And when trading no longer fills that space, success doesn't feel like victory. It feels like loss. This is why so many successful traders walk away. Not in destruction. Not in collapse. But in silence. They slowly fade. Because the market no longer gives them the emotional spark that struggle once did. They didn't quit trading. They quit the identity that could only exist in the war. The market can give you income, but it cannot give you purpose. Purpose must come from you. Not the chase. Not the win rate. Not the dollars. Not the performance. But from a deeper why that transcends profit. Successful traders don't fail because they lack skill. They fail because they lack renewal. A new meaning. A new identity. A new emotional anchor. To replace the one success destroyed. And this is the truth. You don't quit trading because you're broken. You quit because your soul is done repeating the same story it once needed to survive. The challenge is no longer external. It's internal. It always was. The mind that survives success. Success doesn't break weak traders. It breaks the ones who never prepared for what comes after winning. People fear failure. Traders fear loss. But almost no one fears success. Even though success is what destroys more traders than any drawdown ever could. Because failure pushes you to fight. Success forces you to face yourself. And most traders aren't ready for that confrontation. Not philosophically. Not emotionally. Not spiritually. Failure distracts you from yourself. Success reveals you to yourself. When the struggle ends, you're left alone with your motives, your identity, your wounds, your emptiness, your hunger for meaning, and your unresolved beliefs. The market stops shaking you. Your inner world begins to. This is the moment many traders can't survive. The moment where the external war ends. And the internal war begins. And this internal war is far more dangerous. Because you can't hedge against it. You can't set a stop loss on your identity. You can't risk manage your purpose. You can't diversify your meaning. When the internal war starts, your strategy becomes irrelevant. Your experience becomes useless. Your account size becomes meaningless. The battle is now psychological. Personal. Raw. Silent. It's not burnout. It's not exhaustion. It's not boredom. It's deeper. More human. They quit because success forces them to confront a truth they were never taught to face. If profit is no longer the purpose, what am I trading for? Most never find an answer. They were prepared to survive years of loss. But not 1 year of success. Every trader thinks they'll celebrate when they make it. But most don't. Most feel nothing. Just a strange hollowness. Like the end of a long movie you expected to change your life. But didn't. Because winning doesn't fix you. Money doesn't complete you. Consistency doesn't heal you. Freedom doesn't define you. It simply removes the distractions that kept you from seeing what was inside all along. And when you look inward, many traders realize they built their entire trading journey on pain, pressure, and proving their worth. Once the pain is gone, the pressure fades, and the worth is validated, the engine dies. Not the skill, not the strategy, but the engine. And here's why. They don't treat success as a finish line. They treat it as a transition. A transition into a new identity. A new purpose. A new relationship with the market. They renew their why. They trade not to escape a life they hate, but to empower a life they now choose. They no longer trade to prove something, but to express something. They no longer trade from fear, but from clarity. They no longer trade to feel alive, but because they've learned how to be alive even without trading. They survived success because they allowed themselves to become someone new. It's not discipline, not risk management, not strategy, not knowledge. All of those matter, but none of them guarantee longevity. The real secret is this. A trader must be willing to emotionally evolve. The moment success removes the identity built from struggle. Without that evolution, success becomes collapse. With that evolution, success becomes freedom. And that's when trading finally becomes effortless, aligned, sustainable. Every trader eventually learns. The first journey is survival. The second journey is consistency. The third journey is mastery. But the final journey, the one almost no one talks about, is transcendence. Trading not for validation, not for purpose, not for identity, but because you've grown beyond needing the market to define who you are. You trade from stillness. You act without pressure. You operate without attachment. This is the mind that survives success. The mind that's free. Success doesn't end your journey. It asks you to begin a new one. And the traders who answer that question are the ones who never quit.